bats in general kind of gross people out. No, not that kind of bat. But bats are really not gross. In fact, they're kind of cool. Since we're in Texas, we dug a little deeper into one of our native species, the Mexican free-tailed bat. It gets its cool name because its tail is separated from its wings. We started by asking regular people some basic questions about bats. And then we went to 2 bat caves located in South Texas to talk to some real bat experts. Question 1. Are bats gross?
Yeah, bats are gross. They're disgusting.
Incorrecto, my friend. Bats won't give you cooties.
Some bats carry disease just like anything else. Rabies is one disease that's a big concern, but usually most bats don't have it. Bats that, if you see them on the ground in your house, they could be sick and, you're supposed to stay away from them.
Question 2. What do bats eat?
They drink blood, don't they? Like that one guy, Dracula?
Someone's been watching too many vampire movies.
All the red that you see are bats out feeding on those insects. And this particular night they're at 8,000 feet. These bats eat everything from, we have pollinators, which are basically the nighttime version of a honeybee. They'll get nectar out of flowers. And then we also have fruit bats, which are important for seed dispersal.
They usually leave at dusk every night and come back at, at dawn the next day. So they're out for quite a long time. That's why they can eat so many bugs.
Question 3. Where do bats live?
Well, Batman, right?
There's a lot more to a bat cave than you might think. It would not be a good place to park the Batmobile.
Bats stay in Texas for about 9 months out of the year. They come into Texas in late February and leave in early November.
Yeah, these are migratory bats. They migrate from Mexico to Central Texas. They're here all summer long to have and raise their young, and then they'll turn around and migrate back to Mexico in March.
They go to Mexico because the insects are still flying and moving about in Mexico, whereas here in winter months you're not going to see many insects and they have nothing to feed on.
So it's a big, large, cavernous space. Again, it's 100 feet wide at the floor and 117 feet floor to ceiling. And then over 19 meters of guano. We don't go in the cave very often. One, we don't want to disturb the bat since it is a maternity colony. 2, the environment in there is very hazardous. You can imagine with all the peeing and pooping that's going on in there, the ammonia levels are very high. So we have high levels of ammonia, and also with all the breathing of the bats and all the decomposing guano creates a lot of CO2, so there's high pockets of CO2 throughout the cave that make it really hard to breathe.
Question 4. Are bats blind?
Yeah, bats are blind.
If you think that's right, you're blind as a bat, my friend. Bats can see, and they have another superpower.
Echolocation is like sonar, so the bats emit a very high frequency sound, and that sound goes out and it bounces back to them. And so they can do many, they call them clicks at a time, and so they can send out a lot, and then they can get back real specific information on where prey is or obstacles are, so they can avoid them. This device is picking up the high frequency sounds that the bats use for echolocation. So you can hear many bats echolocating at the same time, which sounds nearly impossible to me how they could do that.
Question 5. Do you think it's good to have bats around?
Nah, no. What if they have rabies? That wouldn't be good.
Well, bats in the belfry can become a problem. But, my friend, bats in local caves can have some awesome benefits.
Bats are beneficial. One thing they do is pollinate plants. Fruit bats pollinate plants, so a lot of fruits that you eat like bananas, plantains, avocados, mangoes are all pollinated by bats. They also help reduce our need for pesticides. They eat a lot of insects.
Question 6. Would you be willing to babysit a bat?
A baby bat? I'm not too sure about that. Probably not.
Willing or not, mi amigo, baby bats probably have needs you cannot meet.
Bats have 1 baby a year, so they've had problems with bats, and the bat numbers are declining.
And the really neat thing is the mothers only feed their young. They only nurse their young. So she has to find her baby amongst all these baby bats. And she does that by calling out to it. Baby calls back, and then she'll literally land on this mass of bats and sniff around till she finds her.
Question 7. Will bats be around forever?
Yes, bats will be around forever. They're just like rats.
Sadly, the Mexican free-tailed bat may not be around forever. Their numbers are declining. Unless people find a solution to the white-nose syndrome, the Mexican free-tailed bat's numbers will continue to decline.
Yeah, white-nose syndrome. White-nose syndrome is the #1 threat to bats in the United States right now. It's a fungus that's new to the U.S. It came to the U.S. in 2006. It came from Europe. This fungus loves these cold temperatures and gets on the spores, get on the bat's skin, and starts eating into their skin. So if you've ever had a fungal infection, it itches like crazy, and so this basically starts eating into their skin, and it wakes the bats up. And after waking up a couple times, they burn off their fat reserves. So since the fungus doesn't actually kill them, but because it interferes with that hibernation cycle, the bats end up dying for starvation and dehydration.
White-nose syndrome is a threat to many species of bats, but there are other threats too. Numerous bats are dying at wind energy sites. Myth and misinformation like we heard today can result in senseless killing of these wonderful animals. Their homes, caves, and abandoned mines are always threatened by human invasion. Learn more today by visiting Bracken Cave in San Antonio, Devil's Sinkhole in Rock Springs, or Congress Bridge in Austin, Texas.